Let me start off by showing this to you. Arguably the illegitimate president of Ukraine, Zelensky, and I say that because they have suspended elections because of war and what have you, opened his comments at the peace negotiation in Turkey, and he did so by gloating about Sunday's surprise attack.
First, as before, our top priority is supporting our defense, and I'm grateful for all the support packages and for every investment in weapons production in Ukraine and for the development of production in your countries as well. Europe, together with America, has better weapons than Russia. We also have stronger tactical solutions. Our Operation Spiderweb yesterday proved that. Russia must feel what its losses mean. That is what will push it toward diplomacy. And when Russia takes losses in this war, it's obvious to everyone that Ukraine is the one holding the line, not just for itself, but for all of Europe.
That's right. What you heard there is Zelensky begging the West, NATO, for more weapons to hurl at Russia. And of course, this is supposed to be as they go in and negotiate peace. These comments by Zelensky come the day after Ukraine and its Western allies pulled off that massive sneak attack deep inside Russia. Not going to deny that that was not a strategically, as far as that operation is concerned, brilliantly carried out. The Ukrainian drones took out an estimated 36%, over a third of Russian strategic aviation. The damage, the price tag of that damage, $2 billion. Zelensky is announcing that 117 drones were used in the strike and that dozens of nuclear doomsday bombers and other aircraft were wiped out. And President Trump was not notified of the attack before it took place, probably because Trump wants peace and Zelensky works for the globalists. They want the complete annihilation of Russia and continued war to keep their palms greased and what have you. Now, what Zelensky did, folks, I want to follow up on what I reported earlier today, was a terror attack against civilian infrastructure. That is the early reporting. And it's hard to side with Zelensky when, as the left, are always talking about women and children. According to Russian news media, so you can take that as you will, the passenger train was traveling from Bryansk region to Moscow. It was passing under a civilian bridge on their A240 federal highway when a span of the bridge collapsed directly on the train. The impact damaged the locomotive and several rail cars, which caused a derailment. They were carrying 388 civilian passengers, and Russian authorities have confirmed that 7 people were killed, as I reported earlier this morning, including the train driver. But here's additional information. 66 people were injured, 47 of whom were hospitalized, with 3 in critical condition. Among injured were 2 children, including a 5 to 6 month old baby in a serious condition. And this has been released, a 5-month-old screaming in pain from his injuries. And then this 7-year-old with a fractured shoulder and brain injury, and a 4-year-old with severe head trauma, who were airlifted to Moscow for treatment. Now, once again, I know both sides play the propaganda game. I'm not stupid. I just think it's interesting that you're not hearing about this from the leftist press. But they'll show you and try to pull your heartstrings with their pathos way of reporting the news, with their agenda, only showing you the children that they want to show you suffering in these acts of war. Now, are we going to be in a war or a conflict? Some would say that we already are. It's just a different kind of war. 2 days ago, while delivering plenary remarks at Singaporean Security Summit, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth outlined to numerous of our Asian ally countries that the Department of Defense's vision for the Indo-Pacific region, while addressing the strategic threat posed by China, and this according to defense.gov news. Speaking at the International Institute, Hegseth began his remarks by underscoring the Defense Department's priorities of achieving peace through strength by focusing on restoring warrior ethos, rebuilding the military, and reestablishing deterrence. He then used the topic of deterrence, noting specifically that our allies around the world are beginning to invest more into their self-defense, to segue into speaking about the Indo-Pacific region. By the way, we're getting reports from our allies that they are, one in particular, we have EU's top diplomat approving of Trump and Hegseth's tough love, which is now tipping Europe toward increased defense spending, which is good. We're tired of carrying Europe. So going back to the Indo-Pacific region, Hegseth said, as our allies share the burden, we can increase our focus on the Indo-Pacific, our priority theater, stating that the futures of the U.S. and its Indo-Pacific allies are bound together, and that the future vision for the Indo-Pacific is one of grounded common sense and national interests. Well, that type of strong defense, coupled with what's happening with this tariff war against China and their threat in many of the maritime areas, we now have China responding after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth vows the U.S. will not surrender the Indo-Pacific to Communist China. So, not surprisingly, China's communist regime responded with the usual tantrums, propaganda, and gaslighting, as the Gateway pundit put it. In a statement, the Chinese Foreign Ministry accused Hegseth of Cold War mentality and claimed the U.S. was the only hegemony in the region. Beijing even had the audacity to say America was turning the region into a powder keg, despite being the very regime militarizing artificial islands, threatening Taiwan with invasion, and building a surveillance state that spans the globe. Including here in our backyard, at least 8 locations in Cuba may be operating as Chinese espionage bases. So we're living right now in 2025, similar things to what happened in America under JFK's presidency with the Cuban Missile Crisis, in which most people will agree that we were justified in being concerned about that. And we were possibly even going to go to war with Russia over that. Now, the Democrats of today will tell you that Zelensky is the gatekeeper of peace in Europe. Not one that people know that Russia had a legitimate beef about weapons of mass destruction on their doorstep. And so history continues to repeat itself because people do not read or study history. New evidence reveals that China has modernized and expanded several signal interception stations in Cuba. The close collaboration between Cuba and the People's Republic of China in intelligence matters has reignited security alarms in D.C. This new evidence, including high-resolution satellite imagery, shows that China has modernized and expanded several signal intelligence stations in the island nation just 90-plus miles away from Florida, position them to monitor sensitive U.S. military communications in our own backyard. This foreign penetration presents a direct and unprecedented strategic challenge not seen since the missile crisis. I report on that to say this. That seems like everywhere we turn, the wars and rumors of wars and the war drums continue beating. Continue to pray for President Trump and that he listens to God's wisdom as he helps navigate, first and foremost, the United States, but also by extension the world, into peace and prosperity away from war, destruction, suffering, and death, including to innocent women and children and civilians, and massive, massive amounts of more casualties. Okay, folks, let's move into President Trump commenting and stoking the flames of, conspiracy theory, conspiracy fact, conspiracy realism when it comes to the legitimacy of the last regime and who was actually running it. Couple that with what Comer just said, and could we see or be seeing the beginning of the actual reversal of what was mandated and what was done by the supposed signature of one President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.? Is this just false hope, or am I talking about a glimmer of reality? You be the judge. Let's start off with this.
So Trump blew up the internet last night as he posted this on Truth Social.
It's this post right here, which is still up and it's on President Trump's official Truth Social account at Real Donald Trump. And it says there is no Joe Biden executed in 2020. Biden clone doubles and robotic engineered soulless mindless entities are what you see. Democrats don't know the difference. Steel, U.S. Steel, MAGA, Maha. Now, this was actually posted by this account. Very important. Wasn't posted by President Trump with a whole bunch of hashtags. But what is true is that the night before last, President Trump, in fact, did repost this or did post this on his Truth Social with the link directly, not as a screenshot. Now, people on the interwebs were very quick to start putting together compilations to break this down. And I present it to you for your analysis or for fun, or if you think President Trump is trolling, whatever the case may be. But let's discuss this for a second. Let's go back to President Trump's post, or more accurately, to his post on Truth Social, but his reposting of this post. There is no Joe Biden. He was executed in 2020. Well, how do we do executions? Generally, when you think of executions, you think of someone being what? Shot. Something that President Trump has said very often about Joe Biden. But maybe, some people are saying we were looking at this in the wrong context. Let me play this compilation for you. And you, my brother, you, my sister, be the judge.
He is totally shot, okay?
He's shot.
The guy's shot.
He's shot. He's shot.
Biden is shot. You know he's shot, right?
He's shot.
He's shot, just so we understand. How's he doing? Not well. Joe is shot.
It's shot. It's shot. Where it is. Look, this guy is shot. He's shot.
That's Joe Biden. He's shot. He is totally shot, okay?
He's shot. Does he mean shot as an executed or that his brain is out to lunch? I'll let you decide. We also have in this same post that Biden has clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what we're seeing. Well, some people may not believe in robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities, or that we are able to DNA clone people. Or maybe I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But it's kind of hard to argue that we haven't seen doubles and that we haven't seen these doubles walking around very obviously with masks, with parts of their bodies that don't match Joe Biden, and definitely proportions, size and stature that never matched Joe Biden. Like, for instance, I'm 5'2.5". What if I came on this show and next thing you know, I was 6 feet tall? It'd be hard pressed for you to believe that that was a real me. Or maybe not, because you can't really tell with the scale here in the studio, but you get my drift.
A lot of times I think that he's just trolling when he retruths stuff just to cause people talking. But we've been watching for the last 4 years as Joe Biden has looked different. His earlobes being connected as opposed to when he was younger being disconnected. That doesn't change as you get older.
So let's look at a couple images or videos, supposedly unedited, that show that the person they presented to the masses as Joe Biden was in fact an actor wearing a CIA mask. Mission Impossible being based on actual CIA masks that we know that they developed decades ago.
North Carolina. And he was a very conservative guy who was very, very well. Oh my God. North Carolina. And he was a very conservative guy who was very, very well.
Oh my gosh, that's a mask.
African American.
Holy cow.
He always had fights.
Or how about this one? You see him scratching his back and the bunching up of the mask. Of course, the left say that's manipulated, that's AI. I'll let you be the judge of that. Someone, we're going back a couple years here, posted this in reply to that. Wow, the liberals are having a meltdown in the comments. Well, here's the angle on the sides of the mask then. You can see them lines from the rubber, saying that this is further proof. But it's not just this. How about this one? Supposedly talking to the press. And once again, I've seen several places, and I'm not verifying it, that say that this is the original clip, that it hasn't been modified. Is that a mask he's wearing that doesn't go all the way down like it's supposed to?
Virtually every mass shooting, every circumstance where a large number of people have been victimized and lost.
Antony Blinken sure looks nervous with what's going on there. Maybe the mask, if it is a mask, you decide, is a little too obvious in that moment as it's hanging loosely here. Maybe not fitted properly. Maybe because the actor is going off script. Maybe that's why Kirby was nervous during this face-to-face.
They're scared to let him talk. Look at his eyes. He's like, oh.
Israel that says Biden officials have indicated to Israel in recent days that if Hezbollah initiates a war against Israel.
Look, she's like, get us out of here. Get us out of here.
IDF and fighting the terrorists.
Look at him. Look at him.
There's a lesser chance now that
He's trying to interrupt him. Look.
won't go into Gaza, and that can be averted.
He's like, we need to end it. He just whispered it.
And like I said previously, it's not just masks. It's also body proportions and stature that don't match up.
Or the 7-foot tall Biden that they rolled out in 2024 at the White House that made 0 sense. So I'm not sure exactly where this is going, but I'm intrigued and I'm watching.
Which brings us to the timing of all of this. What has President Trump been talking about quite a bit lately? What has James Comer been talking about quite a bit lately?
Something's not been right. The Autopen, all of it, right? Is Joe Biden actually really here? Are we seeing an AI-generated Joe Biden? Are we seeing body doubles? Or is this just another thing for Trump to get some people talking and maybe push the Autopen further? I don't know for sure.
We can have fun and games about all of this. I don't know if you buy into these conspiracy theories or any of this interesting stuff. Sure does pose a lot of questions. And to debunk and dismiss everything I've just shown you, of course, well, that would be silly as well. But how about this, folks? The Autopen. That is what I was referring to. The Autopen. And then we have this in a jaw-dropping interview yesterday on Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures. House Oversight Chairman James Comer laid out a stunning prediction about what could happen because of the executive orders that were signed by Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., or were told they were signed by him, via Autopen.
Is it not a felony to lie in front of Congress?
Absolutely. And we issued criminal referrals. Hunter Biden committed perjury. Jim Biden lied in front of Congress. And there are others in other investigations who have lied, and there's been no accountability. So we're certainly going to continue to investigate, but we're desperately seeking accountability from the Department of Justice, and hopefully that'll happen, because when you talk about using the Autopen to sign these executive orders were many meant to Trump-proof this White House. And if we can find information that would lead us to believe that Joe Biden had no knowledge of those executive orders being signed in his name, then I think that the Trump administration could get them thrown out in court, and then Trump would be able to execute his agenda a whole lot easier without all the Trump-proofing that happened with the Autopen at the end of the Biden administration.
Interesting word choice there, James Comer. Then President Trump could execute his agenda. Of course, I'm just playing with you here, folks. There's nothing to read into there. I just picked up on that word choice. What do you think, folks? Do you think the Autopen will lead to the reversal of the executive orders and or pardons and commutations and other things done by the Joe Biden Autopen at the very end of 2024 and days before President Trump took office in 2025 earlier this year? What are your thoughts? Put it down below. And while you're down there, do me a favor and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, hit the join button if you want to support my work here on this platform, or check out my other show at bcpextras.com or therealbcp.com. The links to everything are down below, as well as Nana's new Nothing But the News channel here on YouTube. Okay, folks, make sure you hit that notification bell because I may do a live stream later today. So, stay tuned, stay plugged in. I will be back.